Histoire de père est un podcast sur la paternité. À chaque épisode, nous discutons avec un père de sa réalité de tous les jours. On en apprend sur son quotidien et sa vie familiale. Histoire de père, ça commence maintenant.
Bonjour et bienvenue à Histoire de père. Mon nom c'est Mardoche.
Et moi c'est Gerry.
Alors aujourd'hui, nous avons une émission un peu spéciale. Nous allons la faire en anglais comme notre invité est anglophone. So today, our guest today is a guy that helps the community in the West Island. It's been years. We're going to have the chance to know this beautiful guy that I know personally. Please, ladies and gentlemen, let me welcome Mr. Reid. Kim, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm great. We're so happy to
Awesome.
have you here. We have a lot of questions to ask you, so thank you, first of all, for coming.
No problem.
So Kim, let's start right ahead, and just for people that don't know you, that listen to our show, who is Kim Reid?
Who is Kim Reid? Wow. I'm a father. I'm a musician. I'm a biker. And I run a community organization to help the poor in the West Island.
Nice. I think
That's all the main things.
yeah. So talk to us a little bit about your family. You said that your father. How many children do you have? How old are they?
I have 3 children. They are 30, 28, and 26. All of them just had birthdays in the last 2 weeks.
Oh wow.
Wow, okay, so
And yeah, March and April seem to be the months that, or I guess you'd have to take that back 9 months and figure. So yeah, we've got 3 kids. The two oldest are girls, and the youngest is our boy.
Nice.
So
And what would you say was your first reaction the first time your wife told you that you were about to become a father?
it was just elation. We were thrilled.
Okay.
It was all of them were planned.
Okay.
So we had decided that it was time, and went about having a baby. Yeah.
Good.
So the first one, when it happened, your first daughter, what was your feeling at that moment? When she was born?
It's pretty crazy. I was in on the delivery. I was there the whole time.
Okay.
I cut the umbilical cord for all 3 of our kids.
Nice.
And just like they call it, the miracle of childbirth, it's truly an amazing thing to watch. And to see, you see it on TV and it's a baby. Big deal. Okay, it's a baby. Yeah, that's cute. But it's your
Baby.
kid.
That's
You
well
are
said.
now instantly responsible for the life of a totally helpless creature.
Yeah.
And it's on you.
That's true.
Absolutely.
Live or die, it's on you.
That's true. He said it well. He said it really well.
Yeah. So Mardo and I have kids that are younger, obviously, pre-teenagers. Your kids are adults now, so you've gone through the teenager period that we're all scared about,
Waiting to see what's
and
happening.
You should be.
anticipating, and anticipating. So
Like
we
you should
we want some of your insight on what the teenage years are all about and how you dealt with that, and if it actually changed the relationships that you have with your children. So
Yeah, I would just say when they turn 12, run.
When they turn 12, right?
Especially the girls.
Oh, man.
So,
I have 2 girls.
yeah, me too. They were fun years, believe me.
Oh, wow.
Every kid has a different personality.
Yeah.
So, we've got, I would say that our oldest was the most trouble.
Okay.
She's got a lot of my personality. She's hard-headed.
Okay.
She's opinionated. She's smart like crazy. and that makes it even worse because they learn how to manipulate. They learn how to, they learn what buttons to press with mom and what buttons to press with dad, and all of those fun things. So she kept us on our toes, and we went through some really tough years. I actually threw her out of the house at one point.
Oh, yeah.
Because she was being a hyper bad example for her sister. So I had to sit her down and tell her, you got to leave. And she was like, when? And I said, tomorrow morning. You're out.
Wow.
And she left. And it was pretty crazy for a couple of years.
And how old was she at that moment?
She would have been 19, somewhere around there.
Okay.
But she grew up, and she slowly started realizing that being on your own, there's a lot of responsibility out there. If when you're paying for the apartment, when you're paying for the food, when nobody's driving you around anymore, you got to take buses and stuff like that. And so she realized real quick that it was going to take some change in order for her to survive. And she made those changes over time. It wasn't easy, but I mean, you got to stick with it, right? You got to just keep being consistent. And that's one of the words I would use for parents, especially with teens, is consistency. She was one of those kids that she remembers everything. So you let her get away with something, and then tomorrow you say you can't do that. She has all the details, and that just becomes a war, The middle one, Kayla, she's an artist, and she actually works for the organization now that I run, On Rock Community Services. She runs our thrift store. She was super bubbly, super social, great kid. Got in trouble, I think, twice. And trouble was they were at the Kirkland Arena and got hammered, and her friend fell down the stairs. So
that's good trouble. I could deal with that.
And that was it. Like seriously, that's all we had with her. Wow. With the oldest, it was like name an issue.
And she did it.
She was there. Wow. She did it. She was in like a dirty shirt on anything that was going to be messy. And my son was he got into football when he was 10, and bang, that was his life. So everything was football, right up till he finished his career at John Abbott, and then found a girlfriend and decided to move in another direction. So, but yeah, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, and you got to stay consistent. And like I said, they're all different. They're all amazing. There are times when, especially when the oldest was a teenager, it was like, how is this going to turn out? And it's really cool to look back. And I said to my wife a couple of months ago, I said, we did good. It was really rough there for a long time, but in the end, the kids turned out great. My oldest even turned to my wife probably 6 months ago and said, I'm going to be a much harder mother than you were.
Oh, wow.
And my wife was kind of hurt. She was like, what do you mean? And she goes, man, it was so easy to get away with stuff with you. And that wasn't the way with me, right? I'm dad. And I used to do this thing where I would count to 3. So you start messing up, I just look at you and I go 1, 2. And
he's looking at you and I'm like, I'm backing up. Like.
And the hilarious thing is that I never got to 3. Like people would say, well, what happens when you get to 3? I said, I don't know. It never happened. At 2, they just started running. Like, okay, I'm going. You better be. And so they had that. But mom, you know, she's mom.
Yeah.
So, you know, she was always concerned with everything being smooth. And so they knew they could get away with it. They know it. They know it today. My 28-year-old said to me the other day, she said, you know what mom's like. And she rolled her eyes, and I'm like, yeah, you're right. You're right. with mom, you're going to get away with some stuff. That's for sure. Yep. We even had a point once, and this is it was kind of weird for me because I'm straight line, right? And my wife isn't. So we got my oldest daughter, Kiki, who's screwing up all over the place. And so it's time to bring down some consequences. So if I say, you're not going out this weekend, I can't guarantee that when I leave the house,
She's not going out.
That she will stay home.
she's not gonna, you know, cozy up to mom and go, could I go just for an hour, just for 2 hours? I'm just going over to so-and-so's house and I'll be back. So my wife and I had to actually sit down at one point because it was rough with my older daughter. We had to sit down and say, okay, Syl, that's my wife, what can you live with? What punishment can you actually carry out? Like, you can't do a grounding for 7 days. It's not going to happen. So what is the limit? What can we say to her so that at the end she sees that we're consistent?
Yeah.
And she says, okay, mom and dad are together on this. And basically that's what we started using for discipline was, and I had to get over the fact that, okay, it's not going to be my way or the highway because that's how I was brought up. And I had to basically just say to my wife, okay, what can you do? What can you live with? And that's what we went with, because if you're gonna hand out those consequences, if you're gonna build fences, the fence has to stay in the same place all the time. Yeah. It can't keep moving.
Said.
So so
well
that was a real learning curve for us.
Wow.
That's super interesting.
Yeah.
Super interesting.
Thank you
Great
very
insight.
much for that, because now I'm thinking of stuff and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna need to have a talk with my wife. Because consistency, like you said, it's the key.
You gotta be on the same page.
Especially if one is softer than the other one, you know, so, wow.
Well, and that's why it drove my wife nuts when my oldest daughter said to her, I'm going to be a much stricter mom than you. She's like, you made me the way I, like, you're the one who was always making me go soft. And my daughter's like, yeah, but I'm not going to do that. I'm not giving in.
Oh, man.
And then I just look across the table at my wife like, yeah, you know? Hear what you just said? Yeah,
Oh, my
that.
God.
Yeah, that. Remember?
Yeah, no, man. Oh, man. So now, you know, we got to learn a little bit about, you know, you as a father, you as a husband and your role, but we want to hear a little bit about your position, what you do for the community. And I met you when I was younger with a center called The Vault, but you opened something in the West Island called On Rock. Can you talk to us about On Rock and what does it do for the West Island?
Well, the I don't know how to say that. We started the Vault, a drop-in center for teens, under an organization at the time that was called Youth for Christ. And I'm not very conventional in the way that I do things, which is why I can't have a boss. I had to start my own thing. I was working for this organization, and we just didn't see things the same way. I'm a lot less rule-oriented. I want to build relationship in the community, and the drop-in center was for teenagers. So we want to build relationship. We want to keep kids off the street, and give them a safe place to be. So I started introducing a whole bunch of stuff that that made adults really afraid.
Uncomfortable?
We did uncomfortable, unsettled. We the first thing we did was we did a couple of raves, and
Raves?
yeah. Oh yeah, dude.
Raves?
Hey, we were go big or go home.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So we started raves, and then where'd we go from raves?
Well, I don't know how you go.
Well, we started. I'm a musician, and I was playing in a band.
Okay.
I was playing in a hard rock metal band called Innocent Blood, and so we started doing. After we did the raves, we started doing hardcore concerts. So we were bringing in local bands and bands we knew from Toronto and wherever, and it was all just really loud, really fast, and a lot of screaming. And they had a really hard time with that, and basically through a couple of instances came to me and said, "You can't do this." And I said, "What?" "I'd do what I won't." So we sat down and I said, "Okay, look, you know what? You have this way of doing things, and I have this way of doing things. I'm not changing what I do because it works. I'm here to build relationship with kids, not to make adults happy." And so we decided to part ways. They would do what they did, and I would take the drop-in center and make it what I wanted it to be. We were doing other things then that really freaked some people out. We were making T-shirts. Well, we were making our band T-shirts. We made our own T-shirts, and so we started printing other T-shirts, and we printed a T-shirt that said "Pray Naked" on it, and they had a really hard time with that. And all it meant was if you're going to talk to God, like, come clean, be honest.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
here I am. And that's all it meant.
Yeah.
And they just went, they had all kinds of weirdness going on in their heads. Anyways, they told us to stop making the T-shirt, and we said, no, this T-shirt's obviously a hit because you don't like it. We had kids in the drop-in center wearing it. Like, I want to buy one of those. All right. So then we went off on our own, and we started doing our own thing, and we were under this organization that was a charity. Yeah. And so if you're going to start your own thing, you need to be a charity. I had started with a couple of buddies. I had started basically a Christian music label. Okay. Called On Rock Productions. And we were bringing bands to town, and we were making CDs and recording bands and doing all kinds of stuff like that. And then when I left Youth for Christ, we needed and it was a charity. We did it as a charity because we had guys donating money to us, okay. And which meant we didn't have to charge the bands and stuff like that. And so when we became, we realized we had to come up with another name. We changed On Rock Productions to On Rock Ministries and switched the charity over to be the drop-in center. Okay. Mm-hmm. So we ran the drop-in center that way for a long time. And then a lady came to us in 2005, I believe, 81-year-old lady, was running this little food bank out of her house, or out of a church in Beaconsfield. And the church got a new pastor and was moving in a different direction, and so he said the food bank can't be here. She contacted us, and we said, yeah, you can use our drop-in center because we're not using it on Monday mornings. So she started doing this, coming in. We would call her the Queen Mother because she was a funny lady. She was 81. She always wore white and walked around like she was the queen. And she would make pronouncements. "What you're doing is very commendable."
Oh, wow.
And then she would, and so it was like, I was like, we got the Queen Mother here. That's who we got. So, anyways, Mary started doing her food bank at my place, and probably 4 or 5 months in, she started to come less. And less and less. And then she wasn't there at all. She would make a phone call. How's everything going? And after about 6 months, I looked at the guy who was working for me and I said, I think we run a food bank now.
Wow.
And we got 35 families at the time that we were feeding. And we said, well, we can't stop. Like, how do you stop giving food to hungry people? This is what we meant to do, but it is where we're at. So it's a need. And that's, for me, that's the important thing in the community is I don't want to fill needs that aren't real. Okay. I want to fill needs that are spoken by the people. Yeah. And these 35 families needed food. So we said, okay, we're going to keep doing this, but if we're going to do it, we got to do it better. And we started networking and improving the food line. And around that time, poverty in the West Island was on the rise. And so we ended up, in the end, before we moved, I think we were doing 120 or 130 families a week. And we decided we needed to move because we were too far away from the worst area in the West Island, or the worst area. One of the poorest areas is called Amma Bay. It's a 6 to 8 block radius, has over 2,000 kids under 18, and a lot of poverty. So we said, well, that's where we need to be. Instead of driving food, like, make it accessible to them, and that way we can look at what other programs we could do. So we rented space in Amma Bay, and it just started growing. We rented 2,000 square feet, and we thought we were in heaven. We were like, this is so huge. And 3 months later, we were like, crap, this is so small. We need more space. So luckily, our landlord had many tenants who weren't paying him. So every time we needed more space, he just threw out another client and gave us the space because we're paying rent, right? So, so we just grew it, and it got to the point where pre-COVID, we were doing 230 families a week, all over the West Island.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Some people pick up their food, and some we deliver. Older people can't come and get their food, so we deliver. If you're a single mom and you got 3 kids at home, were you going to get on a bus, drive all the way across the West Island to get 2 boxes of food, and you got your 3 kids with you and they're running around? So we deliver to those families. If you have a car, you have to come and pick it up. And if you live in Amma Bay and you're healthy, you have to come and pick it up. Okay. So, and post-COVID, I mean, now we're doing about 300 families a week.
300 families a week.
A lot of people lost their jobs.
Yeah.
We've got clients we're serving now that when they came to see us, they were like, I never pictured myself going to a food bank. Like, they're embarrassed. Some of them are in tears. It's just like, how did I end up here? Well, you got a pandemic. It's going to happen, So we just find more food resources and beat the bushes, and the community's really helpful with doing food drives. Right now, high school kids have to do community time, but there's nowhere to do it.
That's true.
So this week, actually today, this mom drove her son and some of his friends up with a truckload of food. They collected a lot of food, and that was their community time, their community hours they had to do. They asked their teacher. Teacher said, yeah, you could do a food drive. So they did. They went through the neighborhood, brought us tons of food, Awesome. So we get a lot of that kind of stuff going on, little groups. We also get the big groups, like FedEx just did a food drive for us. Yeah. So we use all kinds of sources. We get calls saying, hey, I got a bag here. It's got 2 things of pasta, some sauce, and peanut butter in it. Do you guys want it? Of course we want it. Yeah, but it's not much. It takes a lot of raindrops to fill a bucket. And so it's not just the big truck backing up that we're taking. It's the little stuff, because that matters.
Yeah, but that's really touching, and like, thank you once again for everything that you do for this community, because 300 families a week, là.
Well, and
c'est pas rien, là.
that's why we started the thrift shop, right? Because with COVID, you also lose money. So we opened the thrift shop to bring in revenue to help pay for the food bank. And now we're now in the process. We're the only community organization expanding during COVID. We just took over a restaurant, and we're opening Le Bistro, which will be low income families can come and have a meal like that we used to do Tuesdays and Thursdays after COVID. $2 a person, $5 a family. Everybody eats. We're hoping to do some cooking lessons for community. People don't realize it, but when with the influx of immigrants into Quebec, you fill boxes of food and give them boxes of food. Some of the food that they look at and they go, I don't know what to do with this.
That's true.
You know, and conversely, we're getting a lot of food that people from other countries would love, and the white people are sitting there going,
I don't know what to do.
what do you even call this? So it's pretty funny, you know, and so we're trying to get together some people who can teach how to cook this stuff.
Oh, wow.
You know, who knows what to do with an artichoke? A raw one.
Maybe my wife.
I buy them in a jar. They're already pickled. Thank you very much. Well, you get them in the food bank or other weird vegetables, and we get some weird ones. We don't know what to do with them. But there are people out in the community who do know what to do with them. Yeah, you know? Absolutely. And so we're trying to bring those people together so that the food that families are getting, they can actually use more of it. And then on the weekends, we're going to run a coffee shop just for everybody. Because one of the things that was pointed out, and Mardo, you know the area, somebody came in who's one of our volunteers and went, you know what this area doesn't have? There is no coffee shop.
That is so true.
No, nowhere near this
when
area.
When you think about Amabe, il n'y a pas de Tim Hortons, il n'y a rien.
Nothing.
So true.
There's nowhere to get a pastry, a coffee, a donut, you know, nothing.
Wow.
So we're going to do that on the weekends.
Good. Yeah. Good job, man.
And then the revenue from that will also help the food bank.
For the food bank.
Everything comes back to funding the food bank.
Okay. God, good job, Kim. Good job.
Thank you.
Nice. Seriously, awesome work. Honestly, it's the way that you guys find like different ways to impact the community that I find impressive. And yeah, awesome job. Continue, guys. Continue what you're doing. It's
well, it's the phrase I use all the time is we do what we can, and it just takes some imagination. Like, you know, what needs to be done. There's a need. I'm solution oriented. I don't want to hear people talk about the problem all the time. You know, and that's why I don't do committees. I don't do any committees. I'm asked to join them all the time from community organizations. All the leaders of the community organization, we're all going to get together and we're all going to talk about what we do. I know what I do. I know what you do. And I went to 3 of them in the very beginning because I thought I should. And all 3 of them started the same way. Okay, we're going to sit in a circle. We're going to go around the circle. Everybody tell their name and tell what they do. Well, you guys got amnesia? We did this last week. And we're doing it again. And we're going to do it again next week. So I just said, look, if I come to these meetings, you're not going to like me very much. So I'm not going. Wow. So I don't do any of that stuff. If people in the community want to know what we do, our door's open. Okay. Come in. We will work with any organization that wants to work. If you want to sit and have planning meetings, you're in the wrong place. We don't plan, we do. I like that. And seriously, when we thought about doing the thrift shop, 3 months later, the thrift shop was running, and people were like, well, how long did you spend planning this? 20 minutes. You know, the guy had his space empty. we wanted to start a thrift shop.
Just make it happen.
This seems to work. And it was the same with the bistro. The landlord said, I'm throwing this restaurant out because they're not paying their rent. And I was like, really? So how much would rent be? You know? And we made a deal with them. And we're, as soon as COVID allows, we'll be opening the bistro, you know?
Well, that's a lot, Kim. To be honest, like, I know you, and I know how, like, the community needs you, the community appreciate what you do. But sincerely, from me and Gerry, thank you very much for coming here, for sharing your story, you know, your story as a dad, as a community leader that really actually is out there helping out people. Great success, and I wish you all the best. And from Histoire de Père and the production company, we would love to say thank you once again for coming here, and you're welcome anytime.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks a lot. And on that note, I want to finish by thanking our sponsors. Donc, merci à Gaetano Chiara, conseiller financier chez Investors Group, de ton support. On apprécie énormément. Et merci à Chads qui nous habille.
Toujours fait.
À chaque épisode. On apprécie et vous pouvez magasiner chez eux à la Place Versailles, aux Galeries de Terrebonne et à Saint-Jérôme. Et en terminant, une petite action. Si vous voulez nous aider, rajoutez-nous ou abonnez-vous sur notre page YouTube, likez notre page Facebook ou abonnez-vous sur Instagram si ce n'est pas déjà fait. Donc, on vous remercie beaucoup et on vous dit à la prochaine.
À la prochaine.